Spartans to Mission Debrief. We've played every mission of the mainline Halo video games, and now we're playing every mission from the rest of the games of the franchise in chronological order. Each mission will be discussing our experiences and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be playing the Repairs mission from Halo Wars on the next episode. If you like what you hear and want to support the show, visit Podcast Evolved on Patreon. This episode, we're debriefing the Cleansing mission from Halo Wars. I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krysta Brown.
Get off of my plane!
You're
disgusting.
From, right? And of course, I forget the name of the movie. It's like Air Force One, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah.
Another good one would have been, I'm sick of these motherfucking flood on this motherfucking plane.
That would have been a good one, too.
Yeah.
Last mission was Shield World. Arbiter and Regret began to interrogate Professor Anders, but were interrupted by a report that the Spirit of Fire was nearing their location inside the Shield World. Ripa Morimi ordered the Covenant to intercept the massive UNSC ship as it was getting pulled below the surface. Meanwhile, Cutter, Forge, and Serena scrambled to rescue what remains of the UNSC ground forces, including all 3 members of Red Team in the Cleansing. Now below the surface of the Shield World, do we even, actually, this is a question, and maybe I'll save this. Do we know what the Forerunners are yet? Have we talked about them at all?
Don't think so, no.
Nope.
So let's talk about that in a second. I just made a note in my intro.
This is way too early in Halo for anyone to really know about the Forerunners, except maybe Halsey, because she's got big brain, but I don't think Halsey knows. The Covenant kind of introduced us to what the Forerunners are.
So in the mission, now below the surface of the Shield World, the Spirit of Fire is escorted through the planet's innards by a coordination of Forerunner Sentinels. However, the hull of the ship is littered with flood that followed them inside. Cutter orders Forge and Red Team to clear the infestation. Date of the game is February. We've lost our date. Now it's February of 2531. Let's do the cutscene, and then I do want to have that Forerunner discussion here in a second, but let's talk about this cutscene really quick.
Because it's also really quick. Mm-hmm. So pretty much it just shows, leading off from the previous mission's end mission, it shows Spirit of Fire getting pulled into the water and the doors closing above it. And it's kind of getting pulled this big, massive hallway. You see all Sentinels kind of floating around.
Is it underwater? I think it's...
Yeah. Well, like, it's like the water, the lake opened up. And then they went into
but it's still
it,
like floating. It's not in water right now.
Oh no, they're not in water.
Yeah.
Like, think like a Bond movie where like something cool is hidden underneath
Right.
the poop, and it just opens up. So it goes into the ground, and essentially Serena is like, "This is all part of the plan, right, guys?" Mm-hmm. And pretty much nothing else really happens. They're just like, "Hey, what the hell do we do?" And it just shows like the Sentinels kind of flying around, they're kind of looking at it, and she says we've been pulled into some kind of docking mechanism.
Yep.
And then the mission pretty much begins. That's all that's in the cutscene.
Yep. Yeah, and then the kind of the gameplay cutscene talks about the flood is just, and you can see the flood kind of popping down on the Spirit of Fire. They follow the Spirit of Fire inside the planet. Let's have this conversation about the Forerunners, because the Sentinels really do, they almost like lead it in, or they're just kind of checking it out. They don't know what's going on right now. So they're not attacking the Spirit of Fire right now, but they are interested in the flood itself. And stopping it once the Spirit of Fire is inside of the planet. And again, I'm forgetting how this ends, and I don't want to spoil it for myself. So it's this weird question of like, okay, there's this weird planet, and there's the flood. We don't really know what the flood is, as if we are the Spirit of Fire. They've figured out a little bit about it, but they don't know how widespread it is, how impactful it is on the Halo universe. And then now they're going inside this planet, and they're seeing Forerunner stuff that I don't think the UNSC has ever seen before. Like, Forerunners,
No.
I don't think and maybe there is a little bit here and there saying, like, in the books, talking about maybe odd structures that they found on their planets.
Well, Anders is kind of an expert a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, she has a lot of knowledge about what's happening.
Okay. So she has more knowledge about what the Forerunners... Well, I guess, because, we found that orb, which is a Forerunner orb, at the beginning, but it's all a big mystery of what this advanced technology is from. And they haven't seen Sentinels yet, so this is our first encounter with Sentinels as well. It's very interesting. So I guess a lot of this, the elements of this mission, of this game really, are like, it's not really explained to the player, but if you've played other, at least up to this point, it is a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of depth there. But if you're a Halo fan, a lot of this stuff is clicking, and it's like, oh yeah, I know the Flood, I know the Sentinel, I know what a lot of this stuff is. But if you're not into the lore, or you're not into the Halo universe, you might just have a lot of, it's just very video gamey, right? Oh, of course, this is like the robot race that we encounter now that's fighting the zombie race that we've been that we've been battling. I don't know. Am I summarizing that correctly, guys? Do you think, or am I missing anything?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, there's no way anyone knows about the Forerunners at this point.
Yeah, in universe, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because when they found the very first mission...
Not on the Spirit of Fire anyway, but
yeah.
I'd say there's probably are some scientists who have come across ruins and stuff like that, because that is known.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like Oni was on Arcadia, and they were fishing around a little bit, so stuff is known, but it's probably behind closed doors, super secretive stuff. Good point. Spirit of Fire is finding all this new stuff. They're finding all these things, all this classified information that they shouldn't be known, but they have no choice, right? They're just kind of going along for the ride at this point. All right, let's talk about the mission itself. I will do my quick overview here. Give me 1 second to pull that up. All right, so the objectives of this mission, the main objectives: permanently remove the Flood structures, clean the Flood off of the hull, at least one airlock must survive. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then also garrison squads into the airlocks to protect them. Also, we'll talk about that in a bit. Optional objectives are kill 100 Sentinels, which is a pain in the ass.
Oh my god, I hate the Sentinels.
So you can lose straight up if all of the hatches are destroyed. And I would imagine if that you're just taking way too long or not using heal or repair on those things, where you're actually spawning new units and those are all taken out, then you gotta start over. Part time is 20 to 30 minutes, which is plenty of time. I feel like I never felt rushed in this mission in terms of like I needed more time to get it done.
No, that's enough for like 2 or 3 of those passes.
Yeah,
those cleansing passes, which is more than enough.
Mm-hmm. Scoring goals: gold is 30,000, silver is 15 to 30, bronze is 10 to 14, tin is 0 to 10. The theoretical best score is 44,000, kind of a little bit on the lower side. I wasn't able to get gold again. I struggled on this mission. I think I wasn't patient, and we'll talk about it when I give my walkthrough. But I just wasn't patient enough, or to get all the Sentinels. That last Sentinel objective is actually worth 750 points, and then if you add the multiplier, it actually will get you over into that gold hump. And I don't think on any of my runs, I didn't get it because I was trying to clear out the Flood, and I think I just ended up clearing out the Flood too quickly before I got to the Sentinels. David, how'd you do?
I did okay. I got silver, which I was happy with. I tried it twice and I did way better on my first run. I didn't feel like I did. I feel like I got it done pretty quick, but in the last 3 minutes, I felt like the Flood just bombarded and like just wiped out like half of my airlocks before the end, which was really annoying. Mm-hmm. They just got a big push. I went straight away, pretty much. I don't hate this mission. It's okay. It's weird. I feel it's a little bit unfair.
It's different than what we're used to.
That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah.
So did you say your score? Sorry, I missed it.
23, I think 23,250 or something like that, or 220 I think I had.
Okay, nice. You beat me. Nice work.
Woo.
Very nice. Krista, how'd you do? How'd our professional Halo player do?
I didn't get perfect, guys.
No perfect.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
no.
failed you. I don't like this mission. This is the mission that I dread playing when I boot up this game, and I was just not having any of it. So I got 31,240, and I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. Don't talk to me anymore, mission. I'm moving on. I don't want to be anywhere near you anymore.
So you got gold. So you won again. Did you do 3 playthroughs? Or just the one?
I did 2.
Okay, so you just got gold and you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm
Nice
done. F this. I'm out.
I did
Bye-bye.
two playthroughs, and then I waited probably too long to play my third one, and then just didn't have any of the strategy top of mind. So, yeah, this is an interesting one to talk through. I think it'll be a quick one, but there's some struggles to talk through here. What's on our toy box, Krysta? Before we dive into that.
Oh, we have a lot of fun stuff. So we have our hero units: Forge, the Spartan 2s, Jerome, Alice, Douglas. So pretty normal. Our infantry airlock has
That's
some new
the
toys.
Airlock is new, right?
Yeah, so we have an infantry airlock and a vehicle airlock. We don't have the normal buildings. We don't have a base. We don't have any of that stuff. And we don't even have, like, supply pads or anything.
So you're just fed
gives us
supplies on a regular basis. You just have
which is annoying.
There are supply pickups along the way, so you can kind of boost what you have.
Yeah, it's still annoying though. So we have Marines and flamethrowers and their upgrades. We have these Cyclopses. Ooh. They're not that useful in this mission, but
they're like anti building units, which is weird to have them available here. They also do healing. And I guess I didn't even try to use them for that much. I thought they looked cool, so I built a few of them. Like, all right, yeah, cool, Cyclops, let's go.
Yeah.
Those are unique to Forge when you're playing multiplayer. He's the only one that can build them, but you get Cyclops to play with in this mission, and then also in the next mission.
Yeah, they just exist pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have Hornets, amazing. Wolverines, they're okay. Gremlins, I don't even know why the Gremlins are here.
Yeah.
Why are the Gremlins here?
So that's the vehicle airlock. So you have the infantry airlock and the vehicle airlock, and that's all you can build in this whole mission.
I feel like the Gremlin's the person from the party where you're like, why did you invite him?
Right, exactly. That's just to throw you off, to make people feel kind of like the Cyclops. Like, it's just to make people feel like they should probably build one, even though it's going to hurt their overall score.
Why would they do this to us? Okay, so we also have turrets, which are all over the top, just everywhere. Just upgrade those turrets; they're great. We have deck guns. So
those are those big. They're just kind of there, but they're kind of shooting off to the side. They don't really use them, but they must count against your combat score if the Flood take them out.
Do they?
I'm guessing they do, but
I could not get my problem was the combat score on this, so that's annoying to hear.
Yeah.
That's real annoying. We have the Spirit of Fire abilities. We have Heal and Repair and Carpet Bomb. Pretty normal. We have all these Flood units. We have the ground units, Infection Forms, Thrasher, Combat, Infected Marine, and Flood Cloud. We have air units. We have the Flood Swarm, which is very fun. We have stationary Flood launchers, dens, nests, egg and stalk, and tentacles. And we also have these lovely Forerunner Sentinels that one-shot all your shit.
They do. They're super powerful.
Why did they one-shot everything? Like, even the small ones would just yeet my air units right out of the sky. I was getting really ticked off, so. Yep, I'm having a good time. I could not. No matter what you do, these things will always one-shot your air units. You just have to run away.
But you need to kill them also. The same time.
I know. Turrets. That's what I did. But anyway, I digress. That's what we have. That's our toolbox.
Very nice. The difficulty modifications on easy, all enemy units have 50% less health and inflict 50% less damage. There's a lower number of Flood units on the hull, and free turrets are already constructed. That's nice on easy. Heroic, all enemy units have 20% more health and inflict 20% more damage. No free turrets. And then on Legendary, all enemy units have 35% more health and inflict 35% more damage. No free turrets and maximum Flood population on ship. This sounds rough on Legendary. Yeah. So let's go through the mission. I'll go first because I had the low score. And Krysta mentioned it before. There's that is it like electromagnetic field, or how did they refer to that? Do you guys remember?
It's like an EMP thing, I think. Yeah, so it's just a pulse that comes and just yeets all your units.
Yeah, the Forerunners and the Sentinels don't want the Flood inside the Shield world, so this whole mission is about, it's allowing the ship through, but it's trying to scrape off all of the Flood. So you're kind of working in tandem with the Forerunners and the Sentinels, but at the same time you also need to shoot the Sentinels to get that.
Yeah, because they're also yeeting your units. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a bizarre. So they're trying to do the 3-faction, fight that we're used to in Halo, but at the same time, I feel like shooting down the Sentinels that are also working with you. I guess if there's no Flood around, then the Sentinels will turn on you. But I don't know. It's a little bit confusing from a lore standpoint. But anyway, this field. So once you take out like the colonies and what else are they called again? I'm forgetting. The dens.
All of the
Flood that would regenerate. Then this field will kind of scrape through, and you can actually see it, right? It's like this blue electric field that kind of passes the entire ship. And when it passes a Flood, like a nest or den, one of the regenerating buildings, or the stationary Flood, then it will clear it out. But if it's not taken down, if it's not dormant, if it's dormant, but if it's not dormant, then it will stay. And so the whole object of this is to take out everything that's dormant. So you kind of have to time your attacks, right? And it'll give you a countdown after the first one. The first one, you just are clearing Flood, or right away at the start of the mission, you're clearing Flood the best that you can, and you don't really, especially the first time you're playing the mission, you don't really know what's going on, because you realize that these things are going to pop back up. But then there'll be, and I don't know what the time, there's probably a timestamp or something where I think, is it Serena that pops on and says that, hey, there's something going on. So it looks like
there's a little cutscene.
Yeah, a mini cutscene where Serena will mention that this field is coming across to help clean off the Flood from your ship. So if they're dormant and the field passes over, then they will go away permanently. If they're not, then they will stick around. And then in between the passes, you'll have more Flood that populates and drops onto the hull of the ship that you got to clear out. And the mission will end when all of the Flood are gone. So not only the regenerating Flood, the nests and the dens, but also all of the infection forms, like every other Flood that's on there. So that's where I got a little bit stuck, and where I probably, I could have been a little bit more patient with getting that optional objective, is, either waiting, like leaving one Flood colony or Flood nest alive and waiting for that last pass, and then just focusing on the Sentinels or whatnot. And that's kind of one of the biggest keys to this mission and getting a big score. So my approach really, and again, I didn't do that well, and so don't really take my advice, I would say. But what I did is I just kind of sent everybody. You start with a squad. You start with your Forge and Red Team and a couple vehicles. I sent everybody up to the front of the ship and just started kind of clearing out the Flood in the different pockets that they are. So the front of the ship, on both sides there are Flood. So I sent everybody up there and then sent everybody around. In the meantime, I was starting to build all my turrets up. It's just as many as possible, as many as I could build given the amount of supplies that I had. Then I would go pop into the different airlocks. I think I focused pretty much on all Hornets. That seemed to be the most effective for the Flood, for taking out the Flood, and especially because the Hornets can go fly all over. Like the Flood that's on the side of the Spirit of Fire, you can't really get to. So I figured that out after the first run, is that, okay, these guys on the side, I need Hornets to get over there and to take them out. You also need Hornets. Did you guys collect the black box and the skull?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't find the black box. Damn.
Yeah. So the black box is on, I guess, if you don't turn the ship at all, it's on the top of the screen. And there's a little black box. It's kind of hidden. I think there's some Flood around it, so you got to clear out the Flood, and then the black box is there. You have to use a Hornet to get that. And then when you get all the Sentinels, then you fly Hornet around to the front of the Spirit of Fire, and that's where the skull is. So yeah, a little sneaky. So yeah, really, I mean, Hornets is really the way to go for a lot of this. But I feel like Krysta was talking about how the Sentinels just destroy your all of your Hornets. They just come up and just zap everybody. So in that right, I feel like Wolverines might have been at least a decent mix of adding some Wolverines in there. And I didn't really go the Gremlin route, so I can't speak to whether or not they do well at taking out the Sentinels. It seems like they, I guess maybe they'd have a little bit more armor than your other vehicles, but I didn't even try it. So I just mainly focused on Hornets, and then cleared out as much as I could, built enough turrets around the area so that if when the flood pops onto the ship, that you can have some defenses there. I think I upgraded mostly to just the infantry version of the turrets, and then just kind of went around the ship and waited for the electromagnetic field to pass, clear off the flood, and anything that I didn't clear, I would just kind of go focus. The other thing that I did was, because that timer pops up partway, or I guess after the first pass, then I would try to wait to go take out the stationary flood until it's like a minute and a half, and then I would go over and take it out, so that ideally kind of timing it before it regenerates so that it's cleared off of the hull. And then where I ran into problems, as I was mentioning, is that I only had like 75 of the 100 Sentinels destroyed, but meanwhile, like, I had enough units that were around that they were like either just taking out the flood, or I was trying to find the last flood, because they'll all appear as red little dots on your map. So I would just bring my Hornets around and clear out. I think what I had usually was like some infection forms that were still hanging around on somewhere on the ship, and so I'd go over, take those out, and then accidentally, I guess, end the mission before I could clear out the rest of the Sentinels to get the objective. So yeah, I didn't do great on this mission. It's interesting. I like the setting of it. The fact that you're doing this mission on top of the Spirit of Fire, I think, is really cool, but I struggled to get it right. David, how'd you do?
Yeah, pretty much similar. Boat runs, I recognized the right, get those troops in hiding and garrison them inside the airlocks, which is what you have to do anyway.
Oh yeah, I did mention that. Yeah, you have to hide them in when it makes its pass. And
I did go all Hornets. Both times, I think I did better the first time than I did my second run. I managed to get all the Sentinels, but only because I was struggling to actually get all the flood down, because I stupidly forgot that those things fucking regenerate. So I killed a bunch of stuff and then didn't go back to them. So I made a mess of that in my first run through, and the second run through I played way too quickly, and didn't get the Sentinels, but I wasn't too far off it. But I wanted to purge the flood quickly as I could, so I kind of timed my attacks well, kind of like what you said. But yeah, the Sentinels suck. They do blow your shit out of the water pretty quick. That and the beam damages everything, and there's nothing you can do for air units other than
you can move. It says you can move them opposite, in the opposite direction of the way it's coming.
That just minimizes it, but they still get hurt, and you have to remember to do that for all your air units. And I had mine kind of spread out, so it was kind of micromanaging them. I found quite difficult. But I kind of made it more difficult for myself than it probably needed to be. So I don't know what Krysta did to get gold, but it's probably that objective, I imagine, helped her do it.
Well, I definitely did all the objectives because you have to get gold.
Yeah.
I started off, I kept my ground units up for a little while. I sent them all. So you have the lower platform and then the upper platform that have a bunch of turrets, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that have everything. So the lower platform, I kept all my ground units there. I moved them to the bottom left corner because a bunch of flood come from those docks. Those long they're almost like aisles or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted up a bunch of them there. You start with a couple Hornets. Immediately, I just start cranking out some Hornets and then put a couple turrets in each spot. So I send most of my hero units over to the upper level, and I keep them there, just so that all of my, buildings are covered. Because you want to make sure that none of the... Because you can't sit there and watch all the buildings, unfortunately. You have to kind of move around a little bit.
Yeah, right.
So I made sure that both of those were covered, and then I just started getting as many air units as physically possible. Once I had a good army of air units, and I posted all the Spartans up in them and stuff like that, I take all my other ground units and I just put them in a building and forget about them.
I always forget to do that. Put the Spartans in the vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, put the Spartans in the vehicles. It makes a world of difference. Everyone else that's a ground unit just goes into a building because you don't want to have to, one, deal with them, and you don't want the casualties as well because you want a good combat score.
Yeah.
So
and that's the challenge, I think, of this mission, because it doesn't really take that long to go and clear around all the flood, but you want to be, I don't know, I guess smart, because if you do build a bunch of units that you're just sending off to die, then that's gonna hurt your combat score, and you have 20 minutes to get to the maximum par time multiplier, which is plenty of time, but you also feel like you're in a bit of a rush at the same time. I don't know. It's a weird. I guess this one I felt like I was in a rush, even though I think I finished with 15 minutes under my belt on all the missions.
You have more time than you think you need,
right?
Because you have to get under part time, you have about 3 passes with that cleansing ray, which is more than enough.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what you want to do, you want to get as many Hornets as you can. You want to start putting down turrets pretty soon, and you want to pretty much upgrade most of them to anti-air to get the Sentinels.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to put your Hornets up by the Sentinels because they're just going to yeet them out of the sky anyway. You might as well just make a bunch of turrets.
Yep, I gotcha. That makes sense, because then they'll focus on them.
Yeah. And so before the first pass, I pretty much clear out most of the flood that are on just the main decks, not on the sides of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
So I clear most of that out. The pass comes, I usually keep my units all spread out, but about 10 to 15 seconds before each pass, I gather all of them, I fly them through, and then I split them up again.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of tedious, but whatever. Once you clear out all the flood on the top deck anyway, you're pretty much good. You don't have to worry about your buildings quite as much, especially with a bunch of turrets.
Yep.
And after that, you kind of just hoard your Hornets, upgrade them if you want, if you have some extra stuff, and then I go to one side of the ship and I clear everything out, let another pass come, and then hopefully by the third pass you have all the Sentinels. If you have all the Sentinels by the third pass, you clear off the other side of the hull, and then you're done.
So, do you mean clearing off the other side where, the non-regenerating flood?
No, the regenerating flood.
Okay.
So, on the sides of the hull, you still have flood dens and stuff.
Yeah. But
Those
you'll still
are the
need, the pass. You still need the cleansing pass.
To get rid of the last ones, yeah.
Right.
You go through 3 passes. The third pass should clear off everything else you have, and then end the mission, yeah.
Gotcha.
So, that's how I did it. I was very unhappy while doing it.
I know, it's weird. I want to replay it, and I feel like I can get gold. It's totally doable. And, perfect is probably, I don't know, it's harder because of that combat score to get perfect.
It's doable,
definitely.
but yeah, the combat score is really tough to get.
So I want to play around
From someone who was trying really, really hard not to use any units, it's really tough.
Yeah, I want to play around a little bit more with seeing how Wolverines do, because those are made for anti-air.
I think I made a couple of those. I can't remember. No, I don't think I did. I think I just made the anti-air turrets, because the Wolverines were just too much to deal with the air units and making sure everything is going through the thing. And it's just so annoying.
And then there's those Cyclops that are just so damn cool looking that you want to build, but they're not very helpful.
No, you just have to throw them in an airlock and forget about them if you want the good combat score, unfortunately.
Right. They do come up in the next mission, and they do stuff, I guess. They're okay, but they're not optimal to use in this mission, really. They are really mainly for if you're playing more like skirmish, or if you're, I guess this might be the last time we see them here in the next mission, but if you're playing skirmish or multiplayer stuff, they're for taking over bases and things like that. If you're playing with Forge, so they're interesting, and I'm forgetting if they're used differently in Halo Wars. I'm guessing they are, but this version of them, other than looking cool, they're not super helpful. They do have apparently some cool animations when you use them to take out other units, take out Covenant or Flood units. They'll have some cool animations when they actually finish them, which is, I guess, cool, but they're not super helpful at the same time. So It's a neat thing. They have some neat lore behind them. It's an exosuit, which is cool, and you kind of think about the first version, like, is it Mark 1, or what's like the first Spartan 1's suits? Like, it's kind of in lines with that stuff, right? So the UNSC has been playing around with exosuits for a while. So a person is actually inside there driving the Cyclops. They're not remote remote controlled units. So some interesting things to look into lore wise, but again, focus more on Hornets and probably Wolverines. I think would be a good way to go. Cool. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No.
No, just let's move on, right?
Yeah. I think we're done with this mission.
Yeah, it's a quick one, but yeah, it's a little weird. I'm also starting to get a little wary or sick of fighting the Flood now. It's like I want to get back, like Halo does, right? Halo will throw the initial enemy at you, and then it'll throw something else at you. In this case, the Flood, and then it'll kind of go back to either some combination or back to the original enemy. So I want to get back to fighting Covenant now at this point.
You're done. You're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm sick of the Flood.
We're all ready.
Now. Yeah. All right. What do we have for trivia, David?
Trivia. We got 2 small points. On closer inspection, you will notice that the whole level is an optical illusion. The Spirit of Fire is not actually moving, the walls are. This can be seen properly if you move the camera up against the tunnel walls and look at the Spirit of Fire.
That makes sense.
That was cool.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. It also introduces what is something kind of like a miniature halo array, except that rather than having the effect range on a wider scale, the ring only creates a small energy field within its own diameter, destroying any form of life, including flood. However, because the energy field also causes damage to inorganic matter, such as vehicles and buildings, and it doesn't cause instantaneous death, the technologies used to create the 2 systems are shown to be unrelated. While entering the insides of the planet, the crew aboard UNSC Fire must travel through a narrow tunnel to which the thin crust of the shield world's outer planet. The miniature halo array cleanses any flood of unknown sentient species, protecting the interior of Ethan Harborage. So that was just a note.
Etrin Harborage.
Yeah. Etrin Harborage.
Yeah. So it's a little known. That's why I was kind of describing it as like electromagnetic or something. Like it's a field that damages everything pretty much. It's not like a Halo pulse. It's just a damaging field. But somehow like the Spirit of Fire is okay. So yeah. It's
confusing Forerunner technology.
Yeah, it's an interesting game mechanic, really, is what it is. Okay, cool. Let's do the black box.
Hey, okay. Edict of the High Office of the Prophet of Tolerance. I need one of those. Oh my goodness. Hear now that 500 teams are to be formed to study the language of the unclean. Oh, good.
Is that humans?
Probably, yeah. Each team to consist of the most clever and most educated Ungoi and Sangheili. Okay, good. So we got the really smart guys on it.
Right.
These teams to speak only the unclean language among themselves. The unclean language is to be taught to all military strike teams, that the foe shall be vulnerable.
That's really cool. And explains a lot.
Yeah, so it's basically explaining why they were speaking English in that one cutscene that we were all confused why they were speaking English.
Very cool. Thank you much. Let's do the Facebook and the community questions, and we'll get out of here.
No problemo.
Hey.
El Facebooko. Let's go up. This is a good question, actually. I enjoyed this. Mr. Colin Perkins, the admin, March 13th at 4:10 p.m. What do you name your proprietary flood cleaning solvent? Question for mission debrief, Halo Wars cleansing mission. I won't give anyone any marks for the top answer for this one, which is quite topical. So it's obviously COVID-19.
All right.
This is James. Trent says coronavirus. It's Trenton.
Oh, that's the name of the solvent, though? I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gives you
Lance says flood be gone. I quite enjoy that. That's pretty good. Randy says installation 0409.
Nice.
Patrick says Spartan cleansing spray blue team edition. Matthew says kitchen gun. Thimity says scarab gun ? Also a good choice. Dave McLaughlin says Forerunner's Revenge, now with extra taurine. And then we have AJ, Gravemind Be Gone, now with lemon Febreze scent. Brian, says Molotov. And Storm has an essay. Here we go, Storm. Green Mean Fighting Machine Bleach. No, with extra Green Mean Fighting Machine to deal with those everyday Legolo blood stains on your armor. Great for infestation and flood spores. Now UNSC and only scent. Kills 99.99% of virus, disease, grave mines, and flood spore. Exclamation marks.
Love it.
Well done, Storm. Well done. There you go, buddy.
All right.
Very nice. What's Discord
Good
app?
stuff. All right. Same stuff. Same question. All right. Okay. Dezuto says cream of samurais. It's his bottled secretion fermented for a minimum of 12 years to create the perfect vintage flood dissolving solution.
Oh my god.
Perfect. Min says the drought. Wolf says concentrated Halo juice. Dizzy Bumper says daddy juice.
Oh god.
Jedi Spartan says precursor pudding. Barlet King says some good old-fashioned Windex.
Nice.
Good,
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Hectorius says a nice bottle of Floodaway. A glass bottle filled with gasoline and Halo CE shotgun shells. Fermented in Sergeant Johnson's beer for 100,000 years while having his Halo 2 regrets speech read over and over and over again. It is great because by the time it's done, the flood will have probably taken over fully, so you'll have ample chances to use it. Disclaimer, Floodaway takes no responsibility for bullet wounds, death, or infection by the flood.
I love it.
Min says, can we just also add the giant hula hoop one? The speech, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Dizzy Bumper says, I prefer organic flood cleansers. Very good. Shadow of Oni says, it's the new The Flood is Totally Awesome spray, guaranteed to kick 99.9% of the flood in their squishy arses. Straight back to hell from whence they came. Order now for the low, low price of only $1,115.01. Perfect.
Cheap.
It's very, very specific. Very, very. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, looks. Then it's just how I'm the best host. So thanks, guys.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Obviously.
Obviously, I'm the best host.
All right.
But you guys already know that, so we'll spare you the details.
Yeah, of course. So we are. Let's see, how are we doing here? So cleansing. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 more missions left.
Oh my god.
Cruising along. Yeah, I'm excited to see how they bring this to a close. What's gonna happen with the Spirit of Fire? No spoilers.
Do you really want to know?
I do.
Don't do it, Krysta.
We'll find
Don't
out.
do it.
We'll find out. Not quite next, but soon on Halo Wars.
The next time on Mission Debrief.
That'll do it for our debriefing of the cleansing mission from Halo Wars. On the next episode, we'll be covering repairs. I wonder what we're going to do in that mission.
No.
Send us your thoughts at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at Podcast Evolved on Twitter. You can also support the show by visiting Podcast Evolved on Patreon. Until next time, evolve.
Evolve.